In this video, we'll be covering the most used Warlock pet in the game's history, and that of course is the little blueberry. The Voidwalker was first seen in Warcraft 3, the Frozen Throne, starting as a weird, lanky, eldritch horror, skeletal-like creep creature in the Outland tile set, meaning that it was a neutral NPC on the map. Usually in small camps, they were killed to gather XP and items for your hero, to assist in fighting the enemy. Or during the campaign, they could be found defending portals and gateways. They could also be hired at mercenary camps to assist you in fighting your enemies. Now, oddly enough, these Voidwalkers started off with interesting spells like Cold Arrows, Chain Lightning, Frost Armor, Fork Lightning, and Devour Magic. Really, just a mess of randomly cold, electric, and magical abilities. Warcraft 3 famously had weird lore about its creep creatures. In World of Warcraft, it was by far the most used demon of all. If you needed DPS, you used the Fell Hunter, if you wanted an anti-spellcaster, or were Affliction. You used the Imp if you needed survival or were Destruction, and if you needed crowd control or PvP prowess, you used the Succubus. But until the Felguard was introduced for Demonology only, and the Infernal for a short time with a specific talent, the Voidwalker was the only choice for tanking, and still is for Destro and Affliction, making it by far the most used demon of all for leveling, world content, or for when that tank in your group dies when the boss is only at like 5% health. If you needed a tiny on-demand tank, the Voidwalker was your go-to pet. This demon, known commonly in the community as the Blueberry, was the second demon you would obtain after the Imp, and the first of them to take a really long time to get. The Voidwalker quest was quite an interesting and even somewhat biased one. The Horde would first at level 10 go to their major city and speak to their trainer, then getting sent to collect a special item nearby. Undead going west a short bit and then coming back, while the Orcs would go east into a cave. However, on the Alliance side, there was no quest for this in Ironforge for Gnome Warlocks. Well, there was, but it sent you to Stormwind, to then do the exact same one as the humans did, to go all the way to the complete opposite side of Elwynn Forest to gather a specific item, and then return to Stormwind. Once you returned to your major city with the item, you would use it to summon the demon, defeat it, and then you would be able to summon the demon whenever you wanted. The Voidwalker was, and always has been, the go-to default tanking pet, as the Felguard wasn't added until the Burning Crusade, and the Infernal wasn't capable of being a permanent tanking pet until much later. And these were spec-locked or talent-locked, leaving the Voidwalker as the most well-known tanking pet, as it was the default one, especially with its unique appearance. Because of this pet's unique power, and specific items and talents and ease to summon, this pet was very useful, allowing Warlocks to summon mobs many levels higher than them. While all the other Warlock demons were actual demons, the Voidwalker has been a troublesome piece in Blizzard's lore, as eventually Blizzard made the Void and demons separate entities, instead of them basically being the same thing as they were originally, if you've ever wondered why a Warlock can summon a Void creature. Like the other three questing demons, the Voidwalker required a soul shard to summon, but there was a special trinket that, on a half-hour cooldown, allowed you to summon the Voidwalker without the cost of a soul shard. This trinket could be obtained from a short quest from Impsy, the same Impsy who you worked with to learn how to summon the Infernal pet. And the Voidwalker was the only pet to get an item like this in vanilla, and was useful all the way until the soul shard summoning cost got removed. While the other choices on the quest were very good, including the Soul Harvester, this trinket was far too good to give up on that one single chance to get it, as you had to choose between this one or the Soul Harvester. You log on, go questing, then forget you have no soul shards, but you need your Voidwalker to tank for you. You use this trinket, and then you summon your Voidwalker with no cost and no need to worry. The Voidwalker had a few special abilities that made it very different from the others. First, it was the only pet without a damage dealing ability, and the only pet with a heal. Its first ability was Torment. Really, it was just a pet taunt. It increased the threat it generated for a bit, as it was Shadow. Using Curse of Shadows on the enemy actually made this less likely to be resisted, on a pretty short 5-second cooldown. Second was Suffering, an AoE taunt that made it possible to gather aggro in large groups. However, it was not very good at keeping them. It had a 2-minute cooldown and again Shadow, so it could be resisted. It was a good way to gather aggro for multiple mobs, so it holds them while you kill the one it's focusing, or to hold large groups you accidentally pulled, so you could run away. Its next ability was Consume Shadow. an ability it was able to use out of combat, that at the cost of a bit of mana, allowed it to very quickly regen to full HP. Good for those times when your Voidwalker survives with just a tiny bit of HP, and you don't want to use Health Funnel or wait for the normal HP regen to fill it up. Then its last ability, Sacrifice. This is a unique ability for them that allowed you to, at the cost of instantly killing the Voidwalker, give the Warlock a massive damage absorption shield that would prevent the Warlock's cast from being knocked back while the shield stayed up. Now in vanilla, there was a few talents that affected this demon. The Master Demonologist talent gave both the Warlock and the Voidwalker 10% physical damage reduction, and another talent called Improved Voidwalker, which made their spells 30% better, whatever that means, as none of their spells actually did damage. Funny enough, the Demonology tree also had an improved Imp and Succubus talent, similar to the Voidwalker one, but lacked a talent to improve the Fell Hunter too, specifically, for some reason. So you could take a talent to increase the effectiveness of one specific pet, but for only 3 of the 4 Warlock pets. And in vanilla, there was one more talent that worked with the Voidwalker called Demonic Sacrifice, which allowed you to sacrifice your pet for a powerful effect on the Warlock. But that was most commonly used on the Succubus for its 15% increased shadow damage effect. Its effect when used on the Voidwalker was to give you a health regen buff of 3% health every 4 seconds, making you a bit more tanky as long as you did not summon another demon. There was also many other talents in the Demonology tree in vanilla, and some affliction talents that also affected the Voidwalker, but these affected all demons and were far too many to cover. The Voidwalker was also useful in vanilla raids, commonly used on Gar in Molten Core for example. Warlocks would banish the elementals, defend in Gar, and simply keep them banished the whole fight, with the Voidwalkers tanking them to make sure that if they broke free from their banish, it did not run over and one-shot an unlucky healer, instead hitting the Voidwalker for like half its health. The Burning Crusade brought the addition of the Felguard, who was both the DPS and tanking pet, however, only for Demonology, and with a specific talent, leaving the Voidwalker still as the most popular tanking demon since it was the only one usable for the other 2 specs. With the Burning Crusade, we also saw the greater Voidwalker models. These Voidwalkers always seen with shoulder pads and sometimes even chest plates, but no bracers, which is significant because these were theorized to be normal Voidwalkers, as the ones seen on Azeroth wore only bracers, much like the elementals we see there. A theory being that the bracers seen on Voidwalkers were there to help keep them bound to the plane of Azeroth, much like how elementals are bound outside of their elemental planes with their bracers. However, it would not be till many years later when the Warlocks would be able to summon these empowered Voidwalkers. We even got to see Dementius the All-Devouring, a very powerful Voidwalker called a Void Lord, notice the lack of a space, that was the one who destroyed the Ethereal's homeworld, and is the reason they look the way they do. The Voidwalker, then in Wrath of the Lich King, got an overall buff to its stats, both defensive and offensive, as well as gaining avoidance, drastically reducing pets' AoE damage taken. Something given to basically all pets though. Consumed Shadows also got the buff that, while being channeled, nearby allies got increased stealth detection, cause I guess it consumes the shadows the rogues hide in or something? As well as a new Demonology talent that allowed you to, every 1 minute, cast a demon-specific buff. The Voidwalker increased its health and threat generation by 20% for 20 seconds. The improved Voidwalker talent in Wrath also had the Felguard buffs baked into it, meaning it was the only one of the pet-specific buff talents to affect more than 1 pet. The Voidwalker, also with the addition of the Wrath of the Lich King glyph system, got the Glyph of Voidwalker, increasing its stamina by 20%, which kinda led to a trend of talents and abilities that affected Voidwalkers, generally did so in increments of 20 or 20%. Then in Cataclysm, it got shook up a bit, but overall, not much when it lost its Soul Shard cost. Torment became a DPS ability that did increase threat, and Suffering became an actual single target taunt. Then in Mists of Pandaria, the Voidwalker saw some of its biggest changes yet, as its spells were changed to the new energy-based system instead of requiring mana, leading to a new era of the demons that overall made them far more powerful. First, the Voidwalker was given a Disarm, pretty good for a Warlock, as this allowed Warlocks to more easily deal with pesky warriors and rogues, although unfortunately this spell did not last long on the demon. Torment was still dealing damage but no longer generate a large amount of threat. Basically, just a damage dealing energy dump. Suffering still worked the same as a taunt, however, was more effective with more threat and a 30-yard range. Its Consumed Shadow was replaced with Shadow Bulwark. No longer able to heal itself out of combat, it now had a defensive cooldown. On a 2-minute cooldown, the Voidwalker could gain 30% extra maximum health for 20 seconds, kinda like the Warrior's Last Stand ability. When set on autocast, the demon would only use this at 20% health to make sure it used it when it needed it the most. The extra health giving it a big temporary heal, and also giving it extra health percentages to make Health Funnel heal for more. And lastly, another new spell, Shadow Shield, with a short 10-second cooldown, it made the demon take 60% less physical damage for 30 seconds. And every time it was hit, it dealt shadow damage back to the enemy. However, that hit would also reduce its power by 20%. Warlocks also got the new and upgraded demons from a talent. The Voidwalker getting the Void Lord form, making it, yet again, 20% stronger. Voidwalkers really do love 20%, and making it into the empowered Voidwalkers we saw in Outland, larger shoulder pads and breastplates. There was also a Grimoire of Service to summon a second demon for a short amount of time, but it simply summoned it to taunt for you. Not the best demon to use this cooldown on. Other than, I guess, if you pulled far more than you can handle, or if your tank died at like 3% on a boss. And lastly, Mista Pandaria changed the specific demon glyphs all into one glyph, called Glyph of Demon Training, combining all the demon buffs into one, including the Voidwalker 20% health increase. Then with Warlords of Draenor, the demon's disarm ability was removed to go along with a lot of other changes in the same style for all classes. With WoD, Warlocks also got the model updates, including the Voidwalker, giving it some sweet abs. However, Warlocks also got Demonic Servitude, allowing Warlocks to summon the Infernal and Doomguard as permanent pets. And with the Infernal being a very powerful tanking AoE damage demon, meaning the Voidwalker had rough competition in the form of a huge stone beast. Threatening Presence, an ability that was a purely passive one for Felguards that increased the aggro generation of the pet, was also now given to the Voidwalker to help it keep aggro even more. As the player got stronger, the demon usually became worse at tanking as it did not scale as well aggro-wise. Then with Legion, Warlock saw the long-going Shadow Shield removed and the ability Torment, which had been on the demon since day one, gone. In its place was Consuming Shadows, an AoE life drain effect that it used constantly to keep AoE aggro and healing itself. The second being Void Reflexes, an ability added to the Felguard and Voidwalker to make them better compete with the powerful Infernal, giving them a 10% buff to dodge and parry. Lastly, the Voidwalker lost its Void Lord talent of Empowered Demon. However, they didn't lose the model for very long, as Warlocks who wanted the Empowered Demons were able to get glyphs to transform them into their upgraded forms. And thankfully, the Void Lord also got updated, making it unlike the rest of the Succubus, Imp, and Fell Hunter, who, when upgraded with the glyph, became the old, unupdated models. Then, with BfA, the Voidwalker has seen little to no changes from Legion, the only one being that the Infernal is now Destro only, and cannot be a permanent pet, meaning the Voidwalker is the only choice for tanking for Destro and Affliction. Still beat out by the Felguard for Demonology Warlocks though, even losing the choice to be summoned with the Grimoire of Service talent, as the talent became only able to summon the Felguard, as it was the strongest Demonology pet anyway. And that is the end of the Voidwalker video, the most used demonic pet. For world content, for the odd raid encounter, for dungeons when the tank dies, and for almost all of leveling. This demonic blueberry and its unique abilities of being the only tank pet. Its niche, unlike all the other vanilla demons, has been completely left unchanged, even though it is not technically a demon. Also, I'd like to give big thanks to the editor of this video, Felplague. If you like this video, maybe follow him on his Twitter and YouTube channel, links in the description, and tell him which history of videos you'd like to see next, as he has big sway in which ones will be made. I don't know if I'd be able to continue this series if it wasn't for his help.